Welcome to the event. We're really happy that you're here. We're about to go live in just a few moments, but before we lift off, there's a few important things we want to make sure that you're aware of so you get the best possible experience out of this. First of all, the sound current is supremely important to us, the musical experience. So if possible, we really encourage you to use good speakers or headphones to experience the class with. Second, if you have any pre-existing injuries, please take care of yourself, modify as you need to. Don't risk exacerbating an injury because of a yoga exercise. If you have any pre-existing medical conditions and you're not quite sure if this would be good for you, please consult with your primary healthcare practitioner and make sure it's the right thing for you. Also, make yourself relatively comfortable. You can use a cushion, and in fact, we encourage you in our seated positions, meditation practices, to use a cushion. It helps lift the heart up, keep the spine straight, and it's more ideal for the flow of energy in the body and for the meditation experience. You can even be sitting in a chair with feet flat on the floor for those of you that are unable to sit in a meditative sitting posture on the floor. Just use a chair, and for many of the exercises, that will work perfectly fine. And then lastly, if you're having any problems with the video streaming, try refreshing the page, or if you see a gear icon on the video, adjust your resolution. If you're new to this type of thing, just take care of yourself. If there's something that you don't quite understand, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Everything that needs to click will click after a few times of trying it out. Enjoy the experience. We're about to get started in just a moment. Welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. It's Joy of the Infinite, which is a name I love because I feel so much realness in it. And this is to do this type of work like we do with this Joy of the Infinite idea. The difficult part of it is it causes us to turn towards the difficult things. All the things, like for instance, astrologically speaking, all the things that Saturn represents. And Saturn is this season of our lives. Saturn has been kind of leading the charge.
And we'll continue in Aquarius over these next couple of years. So that'll continue to be the case. And that's not a bad thing, but Saturn does point us towards all the things that we tend to not like the passage of time, aging, dying, sickness, this type of thing. These are Saturn's domain. So then Saturn tends to get a bad rap because it's horrible, suffering everywhere. But actually Saturn itself is total wisdom and love, actually. All of life is. All of the planets are. All the stars are. All of the earth is. All of the experiences of our lives. None of them are innately negative or positive, actually. There's something else in between. And that's what Saturn helps to bring us into that more of that between space, between goods and bads, because while that may be hard for the rational mind, like what is in between good and bad, we all kind of feel it already. We all know, we've all had some experience where some of our, what seemed at the time like a great curse in our life ended up being a great blessing. We've all had that experience. So the lines between good and bad tend to blur, because even the bad things can produce good results, and even good things can produce bad results. Right? Good things, you can attach onto them and cling to them. And when you're clinging to something that will inevitably be taken away, then it has to be ripped away. If we're clinging, and when that ripping comes, then it disturbs the prana in the body, and then that disturbs our mind, and we're having all sorts of anxiousness. Or then when it's that it will get ripped away, but then it gets ripped away one day, and then we get all sorts of depression because there's a vacancy there. You see, this is human stuff. It's not pointing fingers at anyone. This is things that we all deal with, being in a human mind with a human body. And living on planet Earth is no easy thing to do, and to be happy and to make sense of it all. It's quite mysterious. And so therefore, that can take us down a bit of more of like a middle way, where it's less of a clinging on to things that are good because you see them as ephemeral, they're changing. And that's the beauty of yoga practice. It brings the mind into its intuitive and just meditative space, where it can naturally see very clearly what is ephemeral and what is not. In other words, what is always changing and what is not. And that becomes the deep discovery of a yogi. And that's a beautiful thing, because what it means is it doesn't require maybe at some point in my life I'll have time for spirituality. And what it does is it turns everything that's already going on in our life into spirituality by just having a more clear view. And a clearer view meaning having the ability to discern what is changing and what is not. That's all. It's not religious. It's not even some sort of philosophy that isn't based on actual experience. It's observational, that when I cling on to this in this way, it makes me suffer, actually. When I cling on to the things that are tremendously pleasurable, or that I'm desiring with great desire. Well, this is natural. We all have great desire. It's not saying don't have great desire. That's when it becomes that stifling down. We're scared of our energy, just scared of our desire energy, because it's so powerful, whether it's going in a sexual direction or it's going into some sort of direction that in some way or another feels like it might overpower us. Because we do have immense creative power as human beings. So there's a certain wisdom in being like mindful, respectful of the power of your own energy, and how we all influence each other all the time. But this isn't easy. It's not like you can just say that and then all of a sudden you're a master of it, because it's like layers upon layers upon layers of it, isn't it? And so this simple thing of just trying to more and more discern what is always changing, and what is it if there's something that never changes inside of me. And then when we're each on that inner self-discovery of just not necessarily believing in anything. It's considering things. It's kind of investigating your own inner world, and doing it in a way that maybe out of that you discover ourselves. Because we can find something there that is more substantive than the changing self, the body. It's changing, body's beautiful, but it's aging. You can't stop it. You can't. You can slow it down. You can enjoy it. You can enjoy aging. The problem with trying to stop it too much, I mean, it's a little natural, all of us, as you're getting older. It's like, I like that, how's like this, and da-da. That's natural. But, to a certain extent, maybe moderate that thing a little bit, that desire to not age, because aging is also beautiful. Aging is called the blossoming of wisdom. When people say, I wish I would go back to my 20s or 30s. No, you don't. You were way more dumb in your 20s and 30s. But what we want is, all of us were. When I look back at myself in my 20s, I'm like, oh my gosh, but I thought I was so wise in my 20s, and then you get kind of like, you get sucker punched time and time again this is like what Saturn does. But it's not a bad thing. It's a humbling thing. And he's like, oh, I don't know much of anything, actually. And wisdom is something else. It's not about knowing. It's about experiencing and feeling and having some sort of a depth of connectivity to what life is all about. This is wisdom. So what we would rather have is the body of our 20s, but with the wisdom of our now. But that's impossible. That doesn't happen like that. So we can go like Rabbi Zalman used to say, you go from aging to saging. And you focus on that a little bit too, because there's nothing more beautiful on this planet than a wise elder person. And that's a type of beauty that no physical body can match what is in the presence of a wisdom elder. And all our elders have some wisdom. We should, I think, always feel that, because they've been on the planet longer, just by that. And so there's a certain just respect that is there, even if you totally disagree and dislike that person. Still, you're all human beings, and we all affect each other, and everybody is suffering. That's the thing. And even when we're happy, we feel compassion towards someone who's having happiness, because we know that type of temporary happiness will turn one day into more suffering. And then back it goes into happiness, and back it goes into suffering. But that's a type of happiness that is waxing and waning. And that's a type of suffering that is waxing and waning. So that means that, therefore, these things are in the world of change. The things there's a wave of prosperity, there's a wave of contraction. There's a wave of expansion, there's a wave of contraction. This is the natural flow of life. The moon becomes full like it is right now. Purva Falguni Nakshatra, probably the most spicy part of Leo. It has the Shakti of procreation. It's very sexual in nature, but it's also very prosperous in nature. Those two things often go together because it's creativity. But right across the sky from Leo, you have where all the action is happening. Aquarius, Saturn, and the Sun right now, and Mercury being squished between those two, Saturn and the Sun, and putting their, what they call in Vedic astrology, their glance, their dristi on the moon. And so this full moon has that kind of creative Shakti, but then it has this power of Saturn there, because Saturn is at its strongest point in the entire zodiac right now. That is what they call the Mul Trikona point of Aquarius, is Saturn's Mul Trikona. And so that makes the Saturn energy right now stronger than ever. So it's a fantastic, ideal time to be working with things like impermanence, because it'll be put in your face anyways. A beautiful friend passes away. some relationship ends. And so if those things in our life are causing us the type of pains and suffering that then causes our life to snowball into deeper levels of depression or deeper or more kind of violent tornadoes of anxiety, then we might find some wisdom that we be more embracive of the difficult experiences, because they're coming anyways. And this is what the warrior work is all about. And Joy of the Infinite and Dharma Warrior are these are kind of like warrior practice trainings of Kundalini Yoga and Dharma practice. And so in this case, what it is, it's the idea is you're taking death on as an ally. And how do you take death on as an ally? Because normally he's our enemy, right? Death. Well, we're not trying to die, we're trying to live. But death is coming. And so if then it's always provoking this fear in the background, that has a ripple effect onto every other part of our life. And so that's why they sometimes say that if you're too scared to die, you can't really live right. The two things are connected together. So fear of death and overcoming fear of death isn't just about being comfortable in some final moment. But overcoming fear of death at some level, even it's not like there's just like I have fear of death or now I've overcome fear of death. No. It's harmonizing that relationship with baby steps. This is a practice that we do over long periods of time, as a little bit by little bit. Every day a little bit I turn my heart towards the suffering in my life and the life of others. That's hard to do because there's so much of it. There's always some catastrophe. And so without compassion, none of this can even happen. So this is why impermanence practices and the compassionate practices are in a certain way like the two wings of the same bird. Because it's the impermanence practices that gives wisdom. And it's the compassionate practices that gives the compassionate love affair. That acts like a kind of a safety net for the whole thing, because at every difficult turn is a blossoming of compassion, where naturally, when our being and our mind and our hearts encounter suffering, it responds that way, because that's how we're designed, actually. This isn't some special stuff. This is kind of purifying the obstructions of the mind, so how we naturally are can take place, and naturally we're loving beings. We naturally, if we see something in agony, we feel compassion. This is how we're wired. This is how we're created and generated by Mother Nature herself. There's a love that flows through this whole thing, so it's first and foremost connected into that love source, and that happens through the arousal of the deeper heart of compassion. But simultaneously, it's developing the wisdom that comes when we're paying attention to what is real and what is not real. What is real is that which is never changing. What is not real is that which is always in flux from this context. So we're paying attention to what changes and what stays the same. Even the greatest of relationships you'll one day part, whether it's in this life or at the time of death. Maybe they'll be together in some other world. Who knows? All we know is whatever our experience is now. And so what we know for sure, though, is these bodies aren't going to stick around forever. And to have a relationship with the body that recognizes that, and of course we intellectually recognize it somewhere, but we're so hesitant to pay attention to it because we feel like it'll make us more fearful and scared, and where in fact the opposite happens. You feel a initial sense of trepidation, perhaps. But if I can soften into that, that's how do you become more fearless? There's one main ingredient. The main ingredient you need to become more fearless is fear. You have to be scared. You have to be able to feel a little scared. And only then, by being able to feel that, can that feeling start to metabolize into something else. And so that's how we take death on as an ally, is by paying attention to what changes, and what changes is what dies. The body changes. The body dies. The circumstances of my life change. Over and over, don't they? All the time they're changing. What remains constant? What remains constant is so subtle and so ineffable that you really can't pay attention to it as a strategy. But what you can pay attention to is what changes and what dies. And by doing that, it's kind of like a bit of like a Virgo activity. It's a negation. You can see what's not going to stick around, and out of that, what does stick around will blossom out of that. But not outside of us, as our own kind of love experience, our own sense of, I can trust in life. So this is what joy of the infinite work is, and that's where joy comes out of. That's what they say the warrior's greatest power is to be able to experience joy in the infinite. So in both living and dying, the joy emerges out of it. There's a glory that emerges out of that. That's what in the Punjab the Sikhs say Chirdi Kala, which is like Chirdi Kala is like a lifted spirit, but it's specifically lifted spirit even in the face of death. It's the lifted spirit. So that's a different, deeper vitality, Shakti. Yeah? Okay, let's do some exercises. Thanks for being here, everybody. We're going to go on a fun little kind of journey together. And I think you're going to like it. It's not, I was going to say it's not so hard, and it's not. But it might challenge you some. If you're brand new to this, don't worry if there's anything that's not quite making sense. It's not so important. What today we're doing is work with our life force, so we don't have to just kind of think about all of this stuff, that we actually put it to work. And we put it to work by using our breath, using our body to bring back its good vitality, make it feel good first and foremost, because when we feel vital, when we feel healthy, we feel more ourself, our mind relaxes. When our mind relaxes, then we can have more of a sense of clarity, less worry, less heavy. Start like this, hands are here, and if you can, lift up through your pelvic floor a little bit. If you can't, don't worry. Okay, then we'll inhale to the left and then exhale to the right. And through the nose is the breathing. And you actually kind of put a little something into it. It's not aggressive, but the breath has a depth to it. Good, now to the center, inhale deeply, and exhale. Each one of these exercises, it kind of starts to provoke the polarity. Inhale, exhale, up, down, left, right. Then at the very end of the exercise, take a deep inhale, and at that moment, do your best to suspend the breath. Let's keep the breath in, but try to keep your heart soft, your torso relaxed, shoulder blades relaxed down. Try it out. And then you also, if possible, you try to make your mind feel nice and spacious. And then you exhale. Try it again. Inhale deeply. Now suspend the breath. Lift through your pelvic floor. That's called mulban, the rectum, sex organ, navel, up and in. Shoulder blades release. And exhale. And again, inhale deeply. Lift through the mulban, pelvic floor, navel, perineum, up and in. Heart softens, shoulder blades release, and then see if you can bring the mind more spacious by bringing the gaze to the third eye space. Exhale and inhale deeply. And one last time, lift through the pelvis, and then the third eye where the root of your nose meets the skull bone between the two eyebrows. See if you can relax your optic gaze there. And exhale. It's simple, isn't it? Relax. Hands to your knees. And then like inhale, inhaling up. Exhale, just release. Release. Good, nice gentle neck rolls. It's for a few moments. Yeah, relax your jaw, relax your tongue. It's relax the mind. As you're in charge now of the mind in this case. I didn't ask for you, Siri. Other direction. Part of yoga practice is taking the power back from your mental habits into your clearer intent. And inhale to the center. And then we're going to stretch your legs out wide. Flex the feet, be on your sit bones. You can use a cushion if you want to. Inhale, center. Exhale, down. Inhale up. Exhale, down. Every exhale, open the life nerve, sciatica. It's gentle, but it's deep. Make the breath deep. Deeper the breath. Deeply and just hinge forward a little bit and relax. Shake your legs out. Good. Come sitting like this. And index finger to thumb. Chest is lifted. And here in this case, it's like a panting breath. The tongue comes out and it goes like this, like stimulates the immune system. Now inhale through the nose and exhale. Inhale and stretch the tongue out. Suspend the breath. Exhale. Inhale. Inhale. Now press the underside of your tongue against the upper palate of your mouth. Tighten the muscles of your spine and exhale through your nose. Each time we do that, it's like neutralization, doing our best, at least for those few moments, just be kind of spacious and still and peaceful. And if you don't feel peaceful in that moment, emulate it. Just for a moment, emulate a feeling of peace. And by emulating the feelings that we wish to inhabit more often, we will inhabit them more often. It's called shaping your reality. Not letting the old patterns of the mind and emotional body dictate our life so much. Taking back that power. That's your Shakti, that's your magnetism. It's always being given away to habits over and over and over and over and over. And that's painful to recognize. So that's why the kindness of compassion is first and foremost directed to our own predicament, our own bodies, our own minds, our own difficulties, our own suffering. And when we recognize that we are deeply suffering, in many ways, the love comes forth. And when your body knows and your mind knows that you'll respond to its difficulties with kindness and love, it will feel more willing to be able to turn towards the difficult things, because it will know that love and wisdom are going to come forth from that. Okay, a couple more exercises, and then we're doing this 3-part Kriya, and this 3-part little warrior set that you'll love, I think. Here comes standing. You're gonna come standing, and there'll be index finger will be to the thumb. And you make sure your heart is lifted. You start with your legs, nice and strong. But it's gonna be a march where the knees come up to hip level. You inhale the knee up, and you exhale down. Eyes open, pick a single point. And on every inhale, of course, the arms stretch up. Work with it's called circulating the lymphatic. The lymphatic fluids in the underarms and the chest. Use your breath, that's how your lymph moves. The lymph's like the drains of the whole body. And if you don't keep the lymphs well circulated, it doesn't have a pump like your blood. You have to move it yourself. And you do so with exercise, and you do so with breath. And that's over 80% of the immune system is in this lymphatic tissue. And so when we get too sedentary, the vitality suffers. That's perfect. Inhale, stretch up. It's just a little bit today. And then relax. And then you come to the sides, and then the arms are out like that, like Lucy and Nima are doing here. And the fingers are firm. The legs are engaged. And you inhale center, and then you exhale down. And you use your core to lift you up as you fill your lungs. Don't worry about touching your toes if that's not your flexibility. Put your emphasis on a deep inhalation, filling your lungs, and using the strength of your core to lift you as you inhale. That's fantastic. Every inhalation is great. It's filling, meeting the oxygen into the bloodstream, bringing the prana into the cells of the body, the chi. Centering the life force so the courage comes out and you can face whatever this life brings. That's so you finally have the inner vitality to draw the sword. That's fantastic. Inhale up. And relax. Good, and come sitting. And maybe have a little bit of water. That's what the Joy of the Infinite coursework is all about. Vitality. But then it takes that vitality and it directs it into what you can think of as a bit of death training. It's not death training to train for your actual death, although it's almost more like that's the positive side effect. The main thing is it helps us live more joyfully and more happy today. That's the real thing, because that's what is happening now is the real thing. How can I improve my life now? And it's maybe some of the most powerful of the yogic work because it is dealing with the domain of difficulties. It doesn't make it more grim. It's not grim at all. In fact, it kind of purifies the grim. And you find the bliss inside of that. It doesn't make it fluffy. It's not some fluffy idea of this. And it's gritty. But gritty is good, because grit in life is necessary sometimes. You have that gear? Do you have the grit gear where you can shift into it? All right, you don't want to live from there all the time, that would be a bit of a drag. So you're going to go back into Venus gear, enjoy life, be happy, go over to the Jupiter gear and you can get into your wisdom intuitive mind at any time. Put it down into Mars. I need to make something happen. Shift way down to Saturn, the slowest speed. I need to pay the fuck attention to what is happening in my life. Yeah, and then, work your way back up. That's what it is to have, work with your life force. That's why these Kundalini Yoga Kriyas we're about to do are so fantastic. Because they kind of help you, tune your gears, shift. But it's still, you have to have the wisdom to shift the gear. That's what people mistake it. They think just the practice, just the exercises will do the whole thing. They won't. They'll increase energy, but you still have to have wisdom on how to work with the energy. And so that's why we always approach this stuff with tenderness and with humility, not trying to get ahead of ourselves, not trying to be too sensationalized about it and then grasp onto the tools as the thing. That's what we do with yoga practices, spiritual practices all the time, because they're so dang helpful. Then it's what? That's the thing. You grip onto the Kundalini Yoga Kriyas. You grip onto the ideology or dogmas over here. Even the grip onto Kundalini Yoga Kriyas is the same type of phenomenon. It's still a gripping of the mind. And those are all just changing things. What is it that's not changing? That discovery is the practice of Dharma. That's a love practice. It's not a science in the sense of that part of my brain can always be active. I have to somehow get into some other part of my awareness where the thinking mind is less relevant. Yeah? Okay. So in these three exercises like this, the breath will be like an O-shaped mouth. is kind of like that panting breath we were doing, but the tongue's not out. It's an O-shaped mouth, and it goes, and every exhale, the navel's coming in like that. Yeah. Chest is lifted. It hits the chest, thymus gland, immune intelligence. And in all three of these exercises, the eye gaze goes onto the tip of your nose, okay? Tip of your nose. If you can't do that, you can just put the gaze, you can put it on, you can close your eyes and just use the third eye gaze. But if possible, you can just take your index finger and look at it and then come touch your nose slowly. There it is. But the idea is then you relax that gaze on there. We'll work with you on all of this over time if you're new. But if you relax your gaze onto the tip of the nose, that you can feel it. It kind of puts an equal and opposite pressure into the frontal part of the forehead. Pituitary frontal lobe. But that takes a little practice because it involves really being able to relax into it, and at first it's a strain. Alright, so just do your best whenever you need to close your eyes, do it. But so that there's three parts. There's the breath, and then there's the gaze, and then there's the body. So that's the breath, the gaze, tip of the nose or third eye. First exercise is like this. You're gonna So when the hands are twisting towards you, they close into fists, and they twist away from you, they open. So you go a quicker rhythm. Then you put it all together. Okay? Now keep going. That's the first exercise. It's a demanding exercise. See if you can get into the rhythm. You can also do the wrists at a half speed. Whatever speed you go, though, it has a strength to it. In a lot of ways, these Kundalini Yoga Kriyas are almost more like a martial art in how we work with the prana, with the chi. Almost there. Do your best. At any point you need to just relax. Let your breath relax. Let your body relax, but see if you can keep your mind in its meditative space. "20 seconds. Inhale deeply. Make your hands into fists. And then lift through the Mulaban, pelvic floor. Squeeze the muscles of the spine. Then exhale. Inhale again. Make the fists. Lift the pelvic floor. Tighten the spine. Exhale. Inhale deeply, please. First pelvic floor, and then the spine and the fists. Exhale. Fantastic. seventh Dalai Lama. During meditation, keep the mind unobstructed as space. After meditation, regard the flow of events as a rainbow. Thus the things which so allure the world are seen to be insubstantial hallucinations. Joy and misery are dances within a dream. Forms and sights are like a town projected by a magician. Sounds are like one's own voice echoed in a cave. Those who grasp at them are like mindless children. Just as a reflected image distinctly appears when a person holds their face to a mirror, all things are both radiantly manifest and empty. For that very reason is cause and effect unfailing. Next exercise, same breath, same gaze, different movement. Lead with the heel of your palm. This is like as if you're pushing something away from you. Lead with the heel, and it also has like a spinal twist to it. It's, you see the pivot point of it is right here, navel. It'll take a 45 seconds maybe to kind of get into the deeper pocket of it, to feel how you can use it to lift up your energy and to clear your space. Kind of old residue that's just unnecessarily sticking around. It gives the mind quite a clarity. With each push of the hand, it's like strengthening your energetic space. This exercise and the next, and then you totally lay down and let it all integrate. So at this moment, give it something. Deeper the breath, deeper the feel. Make it hypnotic. Final 60 seconds. Now feel the energy of your heart and your sense of what you want and what you love in your life and what you feel and a sense of courage. And put your work in. There. Inhale, left arm out, right arm back like lion's claws. Squeeze. Then exhale. Really good. And then switch. Squeeze. And exhale. And switch. And there's the Mulaban, pelvic floor, navel in. Lion's claws tight. Spine tighten. Exhale. Fantastic. The last exercise I think you'll love. Just kind of shake your arms out a little bit. And so you want to kind of, I know sometimes it feels good actually to get quite spacey. There's nothing wrong with that, but you kind of want to keep integrating it into the body in this practice. It's not an out of the body practice. It's in the body. Be present in your life, whatever it is in your life, regardless if it's like what we wish it is. We're not stoked about it at all, but it's called being present for whatever it is. Only then can the next thing come, when we give full presence to what life is delivering. That's why often when we're kind of subconsciously pushing away things, it keeps coming back to us in different forms over and over and over and over and over again. Then we bring full presence to whatever it is, because we're no longer wishing for it to be something else. Then ironically, I find whatever those wishes were will come our way, because it's called moving through the next kind of door, the next kind of gate, by being fully present. And even the Saturn stuff, the stuff, in other words, stuff we don't like, is good medicine. And sometimes we're not able to ingest the medicine because we're trying for it to not come our way when it's coming. It's already here. And it keeps coming in different forms because we're not paying attention to it. Hands like this. The fingers not tight, but not touching. Okay? This is all of the heart prana. Same thing, same breaths, same gaze. Open the heart, it's kind of like gotta layer the sheaths that a little cold. We have to warm it up sometimes. It's a bit of hard work for it, almost done. Just like 90 seconds. Almost there. Yeah. So if you can move your own energy, you can move the energy of your life even. Circulating the chi, the prana, almost there. Your hands are magic in that way. The hands, the extensions of our hearts. They're very sensitive. When you hold somebody, touch somebody's hands together, you can feel each other's whole energy. You can feel their heart through their hands, can't you? Someone lovingly holds your hand, whether it's your lover or whether it's your grandmother. The many emanations of love. Inhale deeply. Make your fingers tight, squeeze, and then lift the pelvic floor and squeeze deeply the spine. Exhale. 2 more. Fingers tight, lift through the pelvic floor, squeeze the spine. Now stretch your tongue maximum. Stretch the tongue, Like stretch that undercord of the tongue. Exhale. One more. Tighten the squeeze. Stretch your tongue. Stretch your tongue. Exhale. And please onto your backs. Very important now. Relax, relax, relax. Relax your jaw, your tongue, your back if you can. Let your arms out some, let your legs out. Just for a few moments, a few minutes here. Let yourself just be nourished. Rub the palms, make a little heat. Rub the soles of the feet, make a little bit of heat. And cat stretch to each side. And then hug the knees to the chest and rock and roll a couple times to come up. And so this is where you kind of, in a certain way, get to like sip the nectar of the work, of the practice, and take this kind of energy that you've generated for yourself, and then kind of direct it into this meditative space. But it's a space of the heart. It's a space of a clarity of mind, and the mystery of the heart. And the right hand is cupped like you're holding water. The left hand is on the heart center. So you cup your right palm like you're holding water. But here's the key though. Pelvic floor gently engage. It's perineum area. And then heart lifted, shoulders release, heart center soften. And then holding that, it's very beautiful. It's tall, it's regal, but it's also soft. And I find a sweet spot there. And hold the hand like as if you would have to keep water in it without the water spilling. But this is like a really precious water. So you also can't hold it with too much tension because it would be disrespectful to this type of life-giving force so you have to hold it, but keep it somewhat soft. And then make an O shape of your mouth. And then you just gently drink the inhalation through the mouth like. And then through your nose, you exhale. Long and slow, like you're drinking the prana, like you're drinking the life force chi, and savoring every moment of it. That's the meditation. Then you exhale through the nose, push all the breath out through the nose, and then begin again, drinking in a way that it feels like it's savoring every ounce of without this breath, you can no longer stay in the body. It's paying it some reverence. It's so great to be in a body. It's so great to be here on this earth. It's so great to have the life that we do have. There's so much wonder and mystery in it. And there's so much intelligence and love all through it. Getting in deep contact with that reality. The secret of the meditation is to not budge even an inch if possible. Just for this little period of time, see if you can keep the body like a statue. It's some incredibly beautiful, like some majestic mythological being. Some emanation of a transcendent deity. Expressions of wisdom, expressions of prosperity, expressions of love. Our very body, mind, and presence. Last few minutes, keep drinking the breath. Now, as you continue, see if you can feel and imagine as the breath is coming in, like that breath is like a luminous nectar, revitalizing to your tissues and organs and cells of the body, revitalizing to your sense of mind and happiness and joyfulness, a joy that is settled and founded in something that's beyond our ups and downs. It gets equally stronger in the difficult as in the pleasure. It's like an invincible type of love. It's not fooled by the pains or the pleasures. So drinking for the last couple of minutes, that type of like a life-giving nectar as the breath. Exhale and inhale, and then like this. Through the rounded lips. The breath going and switch the hands. The breath, the arms like this, palms facing up, shoulder blades release, fingers tight like steel. Dios. Make all the energy of your body into your arms and fingers. Exhale. Inhale. All your energy into the arms and fingers and lift the pelvic floor. Hold the posture. Exhale. Inhale deeply. Tighten the fingers. Lift to the pelvic floor. Tighten the spine. Exhale. Now take your hands like this, prayer pose. And press them. Inhale. And then press the palms strongly. Exhale. Bravo. Now take your arms, please, like this. And come like this and just shake. And if you can, please smile a little bit. Just a little bit, because we did a great job. But shake and kind of distribute that energy around for about another 25 seconds. Okay, relax. I was just remembering, as I was looking at this, when we recently, when we created this Joy of the Infinite work, we were here in this room, in downtown Nevada City, in the Sierra foothills of Northern California. And if you know anything about the Northern California in the late summer, fall, it can be a bit challenging because, especially as of late, we've had so many wildfires in this area. You hear about them on the news and all of that. But when you're in the middle of it, it's a powerful meditation is what it is. And if you love where you live, you just kind of decide, well, I'm going to live with this. And then somehow, as a community, you try to be in harmony with it. Unfortunately, we have such a long time of kind of not being in harmony with nature that now nature is at this kind of stage of its energy, what Ayurveda would call aggravation. Next comes overflow. And you go accumulation, aggravation, overflow. That's how pathology is defined in Ayurveda. And so and that's both in the body and, of course, also the ecosystem. Our bodies are part of this ecology of the human life and is part of the ecology of all of life. So anyways, we were in here teaching this coursework on these impermanence teachings. Deathlessness teachings is what they really are, and practices, like we've been doing this evening. But literally, the whole forest around us was burning, and it's scary. You're kind of having to watch your phones to know if like your address needs to evacuate, and yet you're kind of living with it because this isn't the first time this has happened, and last time we didn't have to evacuate, and you just kind of get to that point. You be careful, but you're mindful. And in this case, what happened is none of us had to evacuate, but we're in this kind of underground cave, yogi cave kind of studio of ours. And it ended up being really as challenging as that was, kind of an ideal environment for what we were doing. Because there's two types of impermanence. And that's called, or there's two types of change. There's dense change, and then there's subtle change. And the dense impermanence or dense change is that, the body ages, the mountains erode. We hear where we live, the forest burns, but even our favorite thing in this area is the South Fork of the Yuba River, majestic, one of the great rivers ever, right? But that's created by like the water that over thousands of years has created a canyon. That's dense change. So everything is all, and then there's subtle change, which is in every passing moment. Our life is moving by. That's why they describe it as like to not be aware of it. The tantric Buddhist teachings will describe it as like gold dust, just like falling through our hands, or as like the passing of a rainbow. This type of thing. And every moment, life is rushing by like a waterfall. So then, what it points you to is like the preciousness of human life. And when your mind and your heart is connected to the preciousness of human life, which is what these practices are all about, then life changes in fact a wonderful way. But you have to test that out for yourself. And it's not like you could just do it once and then that habit is developed. When we're talking about developing habits, developing the habit to be happy regardless of the negatives and positives of life. Now that's difficult. It's not difficult to do the fluffy version where it's a happy facade. That spiritual facade that happens is just kind of fluffy and cheesy. It's kind of like this delusional positivity. This isn't delusional positivity because it's turning right towards the suffering of life, and it's developing we're training our hearts to get into the mode of deeper compassion. Ordinary compassion, simple, is the compassion we feel to the suffering around us, particularly the ones of who are close to us in our lives and ourselves. But the kind of non-ordinary or transcendent type of compassion, the bodhicitta, is a compassion that is impartial in its quality. So it doesn't extend itself in one direction more than the other. It's not biased because these are my homies and these are my enemies. So that's something else. That's a deeper yogic practice. That's what this course is about. That's the joy of the infinite, and then the Dharma warrior. And to do it as something that you spend a season of your life on, not all the time, every day. You have a chunk every once a week that you're putting your energy into this work. That's how it's designed. So we filmed it down here with that in mind. It's designed as a home course. It's not like a live course that then we're saying, oh, let's also make this a home course. It's designed for you to experience where in your home or wherever it is that you find yourself. And it's created in a series of several modules. Module 1 is the nectar-giving medicine. But what that's talking about is that's talking about impermanence. Is the nectar-giving medicine. Module 2 is called deathlessness. Part 1, death is the door. Death is not an ending point. Birth, the first door is the birth canal in this idea, in these ideas. And then the other door is death. So then they say deathlessness, part 2 is called touch of the infinite. Then module 4 is called traveling the blue ethers, and that's part 1, and module 5 is part 2. This is my favorite part of the course, because it's hard to get through the door. Even in the practices of it, and going through that part of, so it's like impermanence training. It's not just, okay, let's loosely talk about it. Let's work with it. And let's kind of transform our relationship to the lurking idea of death that's always kind of hanging out under the surface. And the subconscious, bring it out. Why not? It's got to come out some point. Better now than when there's not much time. It's even that. It's like makes the mind feel present of what is going on. But it's hard. It's hard at first. Later, it's not hard. It's blissful. In fact, it's like courtship. So when the blue ethers is about all the different, it's kind of how you go through it is by looking at the yogic teachings regarding what happens in the different kind of bardos or sheaths after the prana leaves the body for the consciousness, how it's described. But what it actually does for me, and what I find so many others, okay, that's fascinating. but it's really describing the levels of our psyche right now. It's our architecture. And so by learning how to get the mind to relate to the more subtle, in some ways even, I might say, angelic parts of the psyche that exist for all of us. And by angelic, what do I mean? I mean a feeling and a sensibility that your life has to do with helping others. And that is a significant part of life and a significant part of the purpose. And in fact, you have a special intelligence in how you do that. And each of us, it's a little bit different. So it's really cool stuff. And some of it's a bit esoteric, but all of it's totally practical. And then you can read the rest. It's a 6-module course, but there's bonus modules. It's a really good stuff. That's Joy the Infinite, and we're starting a whole group through it right now, doing this coursework together. And then also some people are jumping in for both that and the Dharma Warrior, but you would just first do Joy the Infinite, and then you follow it up with Dharma Warrior. And that's what we were talking about in terms of Joy the Infinite is the deathlessness experience, and the Dharma Warrior is the coursework on cultivating the deep heart of compassion, bodhicitta. So those two together are the partner warrior courses, and they're strong, and they ask you to practice, but it'll bring forth the vitality, brings forth the grit, brings forth this other type of strength that that's hard to access unless it's really spending some significant time in our life to do it. Then it's there alive for you, and something you can always lean upon. And so that's what Joy the Infinite gives. It gives you a foundational kind of force that you can always lean upon, because you know that even though things are going up and then things are sometimes crashing down, you're good. Doesn't mean you won't doubt it. Doesn't mean you're not going to have feelings that you're not good, but there's going to be that strength underneath you that does support you in that way. And that's what I think, that's why I feel that compassion is like a web, like almost like a basket or like a safety net that always catches us. It's like, we're actually all right. And sometimes we don't feel that way, but by kind of connecting deeper into that between space, it gives us foundation, and it does give us joy. It gives us the wisdom of how we can be happy, little by little, just baby steps. And the happy that is stronger because it doesn't get so depleted by difficult times, and it doesn't grasp too much onto pleasurable times. So that's the power of this stuff. It's on. Well, the regular price for it is $5.99. By the way, when you get these courses, it's fully downloadable, so you don't have to rely on your internet connection for our coursework. And the modules are both video and audio, so it's pretty flexible. Different types of people like to learn in different ways. It's always best to start with the video, but then you have the audio, so you can be using it on the go. I use this type of stuff all the time when just whatever, driving, walking the dog, doing the dishes, that type of thing. Some of this works very good, but some for those types of activities. But for some of it, you need to be sitting there and like have an hour and a half once a week where that's what you're doing, and then the other stuff will be easy to do. And then over a period of 6 weeks, I think you'll see what I mean. So anyways, it's on sale right now for only $3.49, and there's also a payment plan if that makes it possible or easier for you to do this and you want to do it right now. And then you can see on your webpage also there's the bundle of both our Warrior courseworks, which is Joy the Infinite and Dharma Warrior, and that's on sale right now too, so that's excellent. So I want to encourage you to join if this is resonating, if this feels like something like this is maybe the perfect season of your life to do this. Consider joining in this with us, the Joy of the Infinite coursework and Dharma Warrior possibly. Okay, my friends, let's seal our time together. Take your hands up, prayer pose. And take another deep inhale. And then exhale. Thank you so much, friends. Thanks for being here. Happy full moon time. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks to the whole LFA team. Lots of people involved making these things happen. So very, very grateful to be able to do these, celebrate these full moons with you all in this way. And those of you joining in, enjoy the infinite. Can't wait to hear how your experiences are. I get so excited when working with this stuff, and I'm excited for this new group to come through the course. It just takes a moment to join in, and those of you who, even if you're not able to join in, but you're able to come today, thanks so much for being here. I hope it was really helpful to you. Okay, everybody, happy full moon.